I am 16-year-old male and I don't really partake in any sports. I'm a computer programmer, gamer, and avid comic book/movie enthusiast. That being said, to compensate for my lack of physical activity, I work out at least 4 times a week to maintain a good physique. I have a membership at my local 24-hour gym. I started going 2 years ago. It's a pretty big establishment. They have multiple floors, but I usually spend my time in the main floor, which has a spacious room with all of the workout equipment you could want. I usually do a full body workout when I go, so I tend to use all of the equipment. That being said, about last week this started. After I finish my cardio, I go down to the padded area where people typically do their workouts, and I get started going through my routine. I'm in the middle of doing my plank, and I notice a guy ostensibly staring at me. He was on my right and was wearing sunglasses, so I gave him the benefit of doubt and wrote it off as him looking at something else, as I couldn't see his actual eye. After I proceed to my next exercise, he quickly leaves my head until I get to doing my squats. That's where he is very obviously staring at me. His head was turned in my direction. There was nothing else to look at. I give him the benefit of doubt, maybe he was just thinking about something. That thought was completely diminished when he came over and without solicitation and touched me, proclaiming that I wasn't doing my squats right, which I of course knew was complete bullcrap. At this point, he has his hand on my glutes. Let me also say that I am very clearly underage. I do not look a day over 15. Everything about this situation was just wrong, and I knew it. I was honestly paralyzed. After I snapped out of it, I thanked him and told him that I got it. He smiled with the most perverted and creepy smile ever. He goes back to his area and continues to stare me down like a hawk stalking its prey. I stupidly don't report him and don't tell anybody about the situation. I was extremely perturbed nonetheless. I go back the next day and I pray that he isn't there, but lo and behold, I see him sitting around with his creepy sunglasses. When he sees me, he smiles creepily at me and waves. I don't reciprocate at all. I wanted to avoid all confrontation with this guy. Anyways, I do my cardio without incident, and when I get to the padded area, he is ostensibly not there, but in the middle of my workout, the guy plops down next to me and asks, "Hey buddy, how often do you come to the gym?" I was honestly startled and responded with a slurred "when I can." I put back in my earbuds and hoped that would give him the signal that I had no interest in conversing. I start doing my push-ups, and out of the corner of my eye, the creep is just laying there analyzing me. He then decided to give me an anatomy of the bicep. He started touching my arm. He was almost caressing it. I just awkwardly said okay. I was trying to be as cordial as possible since I didn't want to retaliate and potentially mischaracterize him. I go to this gym often and didn't want to develop a reputation. He then started putting his hand toward my genitalia, and that's when I sprung up and just left. The people around me looked disconcerted, and one woman went up to me and asked if I knew this man, to which I replied no. I still don't report the guy, as I feared that I misconstrued what he was doing and he was just trying to help. The next couple of times I went, I didn't see him at all. But yesterday is when things escalated to a point where I knew this guy had malicious intentions. I am back at the workout area, and the guy doesn't confront me at all, but has his phone pointed at me in a suspicious way. It looked as if he was taking pictures of me, of recording me. I was freaked out, but I couldn't say anything because for all I knew he was reading an article or something. I was unsettled, but continued my workout. This isn't even the worst part. After my workout, I go to wash my hands in the locker room. People in there have a tendency to walk around naked, which I find to be really repulsive, but there's no rule against it. So this sick creep is in the locker room, and I curse myself under my breath. While I'm washing my hands, the bastard comes up literally right behind me and says after working out, "You should shower. Come with me, I'll help." I tell him to fuck off and that I'm reporting him to the gym and the police. Everybody else in there hears this, and I don't know what happened to him in there as I hauled ass out of there as quick as possible. I do act according to my threat and report him to the gym, but I didn't have a name and there are no cameras in the locker room, so the only evidence I have is him touching me in the gym. I tell my father, and he is infuriated. My father goes to the same gym, and when I described the guy to him, my father said that he recognized who I was talking about. He said that the guy is always talking to younger people in the gym, and it has always creeped him out. I'm an 18-year-old girl from a small town in Norway called Halden. Just to set the scene a little bit, the gym I go to is a big building near the road with 3 floors, each having different themes, like one floor is for weights, one is for cardio, and so on. To access the gym, you need a key card, and every time someone swipes their card at the door to get in, it registers who the card belongs to. I go to the gym almost every day, but I prefer to work out when there aren't many people around, so I usually train late. At that time, I always went to the gym between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. This had been my regular routine for months. I started to notice this guy who was always there before me or coming in about 5 minutes later than I did. I have to point out that even though the gym is spacious, there are barely any people there at night, usually just 2 or 3 at most. So I was often there alone, or if not, this guy would be there. I began to notice that he always stared at me, and I can't deal with people staring at me. Plus, I'm too shy to confront someone who's staring, so I just continued with my workout. This went on for a couple of weeks, and I started to feel increasingly nervous about going to the gym alone. I felt like he was a guy who probably couldn't hurt me, but he still gave me the creeps. He was quite skinny, tall, but not exceptionally so, and he had a generally creepy vibe. One night, as I was walking up the stairs toward the front door of the building to swipe my card, I noticed something or someone next to the bushes. I knew this guy rode a bike because I had seen him leave on it multiple times. Sure enough, he was there, lurking in the bushes and staring at me. As soon as he realized I had noticed him, he quickly biked off. I dismissed it as him being an idiot, albeit a creepy one. Now, here's where the creepy stuff really began. As I mentioned, there are 3 floors, and I usually work my way down during my workout. He was there again, following me everywhere I went. I even tried going back and forth several times, but he kept following me and staring. There was also a second guy in the gym that night, which made me feel safer. Unfortunately, he left before I did, so it was just me and the creepy guy alone. I decided to go up to run for 10 minutes to finish my workout. Now, let me set the scene again. The boys' showers are behind some sort of shower curtain, dividing the cardio room and the showers. I cannot see behind the curtains or into the boys' shower. So, for me to see anything there, someone has to remove the curtain themselves. Anyways, I had just finished my cardio and was walking towards the girls' locker room when I looked to my left and saw him standing there completely naked, with only a hat on his head and his hands covering his private parts. He stared at me, and I was in shock. I ran to the locker room in a panic and stayed there for 10 minutes, wondering what the hell had just happened. I know it sounds hilarious, and in a way, it is, but it genuinely shocked and scared me. I didn't know what this guy's intentions were, and who does something like that? On my way out of the locker room, I glanced back to where he was standing when I saw him the first time, and there he was, in the same position, naked, with those same creepy eyes staring at me. I decided to contact the gym, and the owner called me a week later to discuss the incident. Apparently, this guy was always up to no good. He had stolen a card from a boy I actually knew and used it for several months. The gym owner wanted to catch him in the act, so they, the owner and 2 cops, checked when the card was last used and went down there to have a little chat with him. When they arrived, he was on his way out, saw them, and bolted. They didn't end up finding him that night, but he got banned from all the gyms in my town for his actions. I am a 17-year-old female. I'm very petite, weighing about 100 pounds and standing at 5 feet 3. I recently joined my local gym around January of 2019 and established a routine for my workouts. I go every day, except for Mondays, around 6 p.m. and stay for an hour or two, depending on the day. Like anyone who frequents the gym, I've become familiar with the regulars, their preferred times, and machines. When a new person arrives, it's often noticeable. I mention this because it's relevant to my story. You become accustomed to these people being there, whether or not you interact with them. As a girl who goes to the gym, I've had my fair share of occasional glances from weirdos or awkward eye contact with someone who's staring at me in the mirror. In such situations, the best you can do is give them the nastiest look of disgust and carry on. Now, the time I go to the gym is when most people start leaving. I'm quite antisocial and shy, so this arrangement works well for me, or at least I thought it did. I also considered having some alone time to be a nice perk, with the added comfort of knowing that there were cameras everywhere and that you needed a keycard to enter and exit the gym. However, over the past month, I began getting a weird vibe from a random guy we'll call Randy. As I mentioned earlier, you get used to people looking at you at the gym, so it's often difficult to distinguish between someone being a genuine threat and someone just being creepy. Both are bad, but it's hard to tell the difference. I decided to share my concerns about Randy with my mom because my gut feeling was telling me something was off, and I needed some advice. She suggested we inform the manager and have him kicked out of the gym. However, being naive and nice, I hesitated to get someone kicked out just because they gave me the creeps. I didn't think it was a strong enough reason at the time. I also started noticing that some of the other girls who worked out around the same time as me weren't coming as regularly as they used to. I brushed this off, thinking they might have had work or were out of town. It wasn't my business, but it was something worth noting. The gym staff typically leaves around 6:30 p.m., and I noticed that Randy started showing up at almost exactly the same time as the manager and staff left. Initially, I didn't pay too much attention to this, thinking he might have had a regular job or some other reason for coming at that time. That was a huge mistake. I tried to rationalize it by assuming he was just another regular gym-goer with a specific schedule, especially since I often saw him there. Here's where the real story begins. I went to the gym for my usual workout, and the manager, whom I'll call Alyssa, approached me to discuss some of the other girls who worked out at the same time. Apparently, these girls had filed a complaint about Randy secretly recording them while they worked out. These girls had changed their workout schedules due to Randy, which explained why I saw less of them. Alyssa asked if I had ever seen any men holding their phones up to their chests while walking, with the camera pointing outwards. I hadn't, but I shared my concerns about Randy and told Alyssa that he was starting to creep me out. Alyssa promised to look into it and keep me updated, especially since I was underage. The next day, Alyssa explained what had transpired. She had waited for Randy and his friend, whom we'll call Kyle, to arrive at the gym and parked outside. Alyssa had a friend who was a sheriff, and together they checked Randy's license plates. To their surprise, they found that he was a registered sex offender on probation. They also discovered that Randy didn't even have a gym keycard, meaning he wasn't a member and shouldn't have been using the gym at all. His friend Kyle had a keycard and was letting Randy in. They both worked out at the same time and waited for the staff to leave. Alyssa promptly prohibited both men from entering the gym and kicked them out. What's particularly unsettling is that I recall being alone in the gym with these two guys very often. They blended in so well that I considered them normal gym-goers I saw regularly. I'm still not sure if I was recorded by Randy or Kyle, but Alyssa told me she was going to review the footage and inform me of any further developments, including whether I was unknowingly recorded. It's terrifying to think that I had grown accustomed to these guys being at the gym so regularly. I'm incredibly grateful that Alyssa kept me informed of the situation. As frightening as it is, it highlights the importance of always being aware of your surroundings and trusting your instincts. It also serves as a reminder never to trust anyone you think you might know. It might sound silly, but it's easy to become comfortable with people we see every day, even if we don't really know them. Who knows what could have happened if I had found myself alone with Randy and Kyle again. Please, always be cautious and vigilant. Reserve judgment about someone's character, whether good or bad, until you truly know them. You never know who might be out there to harm you when you least expect it.